Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Now today I want to show you how you can use an old amplifier or receiver that you may have sitting around the house to power your computer speakers. For a lot of us, two-channel buffs or enthusiasts and home theater freaks, we go through a lot of these things over a period of time. I have one sitting here. This is still functioning, by the way. And it's always good, in my opinion, to find ways to incorporate electronics rather than having them end up in the landfill, to incorporate them in some way, some useful way that they don't end up becoming electronic waste. If we can use many of these pieces of old equipment that are still functioning, right? If we can repurpose them for other uses, that's that's a best case scenario. So today I want to show you how you can use an old receiver or amplifier, something similar to this, to power a set of computer speakers. So what I have here is an old 5.1 surround sound receiver. It's still working. As a matter of fact, this is what I'm using in my surround system right now. So even though it's old, but it's not cold. All right. So we can connect to a set of computer speakers or to a computer, I would say in a couple of ways, mainly two ways. Let's put it that way. We can connect to a computer using analog connections, or we can connect this to a computer using a digital connection. Now in the computer world, the digital output is called a SPDIF, right? Okay, so what I have here are two cables. This is an analog cable and this is a digital cable, an optical cable, like I like to call it. All right. Now the analog cable has what is called a mini jack connector here, and this is a very common connector. And on the other end, which is split into left and right channel, you have these two RCA connectors. Right. So this is an analog cable. Okay. This is an optical cable. Right? This transmit audio using light pulses, and like I said, in the computer world, it's called a SPDIF connector. So this is the next option that I'm going to be talking about today. All right. Okay. So I'm not sure if you're able to see the back of the system here quite clearly, right? But let's take a look. So on the back, you can see a plethora of analog connectors here, right? You can see the speaker connectors over here, and just to show how old this receiver is, it even has these, what are they called again? S-video connectors. Yeah, S-video connectors. And needless to say, this is an older system. Okay, so if you look over here carefully, you can see an analog CD input. We have a tape input here. We have a VCR input, and we have a TV input. For the sake of this conversation, we're going to concentrate on the CD input and maybe the TV input. If you look up here carefully, in this area, we have the digital inputs here. This is called the coaxial digital input. So this is a coaxial digital cable, right? This is another cable that you can use to connect digital sources to to receivers or anything that may have a digital input. I think this cable was used mainly to connect CD players to receivers or amplifiers which has this kind of connector. But anyway, this is another option, but this is not what we're going to focus on today. We're going to focus on the two other cables that I showed to you earlier. All right, so if you look here, you can see that we have 3 digital inputs, the coaxial one that I showed to you earlier, and we have here a DVD input and a TV input. Okay, so if you look at the back of your computer, assuming you have a more modern computer, if it's a desktop, a system that was built over the last 10 years, with a decent motherboard in it, these motherboards, for the most part, have a digital out connector at the back. So if you look at the back of your desktop computer, most likely you will find a SPDIF or a digital out on it. Okay, you would also find connectors for analog cables like this. So in this case, you would take a cable like this, right, which is an analog cable. You would find where you have the headphone port or or a speaker out, and this is where you would plug in this section of the cable. If it's a laptop, you would find the headphone jack. Basically, it's just a headphone jack, all right? And this is what you would plug this little mini jack thing into. So on the back of your computer, you would plug this little mini jack section of this cable into the headphone out or the audio out, the speaker out. For this purpose, we are just going to focus on a desktop computer which has a digital out and an analog out. So you would look for that headphone out or the left and right audio out, which accepts something like this, and you would plug this end into your desktop, right? And then you will take this end, and normally what you do, these things are normally color coded. If you look carefully, this one is red and this one is white. Usually the red is for the right channel and the white is for the left channel. Okay, so you're going to plug, in this case I'm going to be using the CD input, right? And you notice red and white, and here you also have red and white. So basically all you have to do is to match them up. You'd plug this one into the red, right, and this one into the white, right, and then this end here would be plugged into the back of your computer. Okay, so that's one way. The second way you can connect this receiver to your computer is to use the optical cable here, like I mentioned earlier. Now, these optical cables transmit audio using light technology, light pulse, and basically that's how audio is transmitted from the source to the amplifier or the receiver. So here's what you would do. So you would take one end of this optical cable and you would connect it to the optical out on the back of your desktop computer, right? You would plug one end in, and just in case you're pushing it into the connector and you notice it's not going in, these cables are designed to go in just one way, so that you can't make a mistake. It's foolproof. So you plug one end into your motherboard, in the optical out of the motherboard, and then you would take the other end and you would plug it directly into one of these connectors. Now here I have TV in or DVD. Either one works, it doesn't matter. All you have to do is just select which input you chose into your menu. So in this case, I'm going to plug it into the TV digital input. Okay guys, here they are, an analog connector and a digital connector, right? And of course you'll be plugging these two into the back of your computer using the analog and digital outputs. Okay, so the next thing that you'll have to do, or you need to do, just to connect your speakers to the speaker outputs here. And when everything is connected up, speakers, the power source is connected to the receiver, essentially you would switch on your receiver and you would select which input you're using, whether you're using a digital connector, a digital input, or an analog input. Depending on the motherboard that you have and the sound card that is installed, and specifically the sound card software, you may have to select which output you're using from your motherboard coming into this system. Essentially what I'm saying, if you're using the optical out, you may have to select in the sound card menu that you're using an optical output, or else you may not get any sound coming from your computer into this. All right, likewise with the analog connector. Right now, the analog connector for the most part is a little bit more of a default, I would say, but nevertheless you may still have to select it in your desktop sound card menu, right? So there it is. This is one way how you can incorporate, old receivers, amplifiers to power, a set of computer speakers that, sometimes it's not always necessary to go out to buy, for example, an interface. And even if you purchase an interface, you're going to need a set of speakers that have their own amplifiers built in, right? In this situation, you can use passive speakers, and that's the whole purpose of this video, to show you how you can use this amplifier to power passive speakers. It's an easy way. It's a very economical way, if I may use that word, to get powerful, high quality sound from your computer. And not only that, when you use something like this, because this is a home theater receiver, and many other 2-channel amplifiers, many of them, but specifically surround sound receivers like these, they also have a subwoofer out, right? You can connect a subwoofer, if you have one, to this, and you get real heavy duty dynamic sound. Yes, so I just thought I'd share that with you today. How you can use something like this, or whatever you have, whether it's a 2-channel amp that you're not using right now, or an old receiver like this, which is still functioning, which has both analog and digital inputs. How you can connect something like this to a laptop or a desktop system to power a set of passive speakers. Okay, I hope you found this video helpful. I hope it has enlightened you somewhat, and I hope you'll find good news good uses for these pieces of tech or older tech sitting or lying around the house that are still functioning, but is not getting much use. So if you like this video and where I'm going with it, you know, with these kind of conversation. Don't forget to like the channel. If you like this video specifically, give me a thumbs up. All right, so until the next video, take care guys.